Hello everybody, this is Sherry at djsundry.blogspot.com, and I have a quick and easy ATC. So let's get started on it. So I'm going to be using 3 different inks on this one today. I'm going to be using my Ice Spruce ink from Ranger, from Distress. I'm going to be using my Studio G white stamp pad that I showed you in a previous video. The Versamark stamp pad. Then I'm going to be using 2 stamp sets. The first one is Winter Wishes from K. Andrew Designs, and I'm using the phrases. These are mix and match sentiments, and I'm using the phrases Winter Wishes. Now this is a winter ATC. It's not necessarily a Christmas ATC. So just so you know, this one you could use even through January if you wanted to. If you wanted to do a swap among friends, this would be a great January ATC. And then the other one that I'm going to be using is this stamp set from Inkadinkadoo, and it's just snowflakes. And I'm using this great big one right here. Now, obviously it's too big for my ATC, but that's okay. I ran it off the edge, and it's very subtly in there anyway, but I'll show you that in a few minutes. And then I may or may not be using these 2 items. I have these metal charms. Where'd they go? There. These metal charms from, who is this from? Momenta. And I picked these up at Michael's several weeks ago, and I actually picked them up for a different project, and I may or may not use them on this one, and I'll show you why as we go on. I did use it on some of the other ones. My original plan was to use these larger snowflakes as my main accent piece for this ATC, but it didn't adhere well, and you'll see why in just a minute. And I've got these fibers everywhere, but so I don't know if I'll be using it on this one. We'll see. If I don't use it, or maybe even if I do, I also may be using these gradient jewels from Creative Charms. So let's set those aside. Now my paper, just set them where I can get to them. My main paper is this BJ Snowman from Hot Off the Press. Again, I don't know if this is still available or not, and I've been using it on some other things, and I really have been using it because I like the background paper, not so much for all of this. So don't worry though, that shouldn't go to waste. I think I have a project in mind for those extra snowmen that I have laying around. I may not use all the trees, I don't know. But I think I've got an idea of what I can do to use those up so that they won't go to waste, because, you know, I save my scraps. The back side of the ATC cards will be just white, and I've done some inking and stuff. So the first thing that I did is I got my chipboard pieces, because I want some strength to these. So I got my chipboard pieces and I cut them to standard A2 size, 2.5 inches wide by 3.5 inches tall. Then using this Studio G, I inked around the edges. Even though you're not going to see it, I don't want the craft to show, and because of the application that I'm going to be doing later, I don't want to do it at the end altogether. So I just pre-did that with that, and that's one of the things I did with the ink. Let me show you. Oh, it doesn't want to close. Let me show you the front of the back side of my ATC card. So I put my little sticker, or my little stamp here, that's my custom stamp that has my blog and my YouTube address, and I stamped that in the Ice Spruce Distress ink. And then unfortunately I don't have a Distress pen, or even a pen that's close, and so rather than trying to match it, I just went with black, and I put in my other information that I put on here. This says this will be card 3 out of 4 that I made. When I make an ATC, this is crazy, and I may stop this later, but for now, every time I make an ATC set, I make one for me. So I only needed 3 of these to send, but I wanted 1 as well. So then what I did is I used that snowflakes die, and I did a stamping off technique. I inked it up with the Ice Spruce, and then I stamped it onto my craft mat, and then I used the 2nd generation stamp across the top, because it mimics the front, and I wanted it to be a little bit finished, but I didn't necessarily want it to cover up my other stamp. And then I also distressed around the edges a little bit. Now, normally I would put the back on first, but I can't do that this time. So let's move to the front. So I've already done this, and I don't know how well the camera picks up the background of those snowflakes, but I just stamped it across and in the white, and then I also distressed around the edges with the white Studio G ink, and it's very subtle. White ink doesn't always stamp really well. It just doesn't, I don't know. I believe that there are some out there that do. I've not done well with them. But I wanted this particularly for this technique because I just want that subtle, I'm just creating my own background. So I stamped the snowflakes across there. I distressed around the edges and I put that aside. And then I used my Versamark pad and I stamped Winter Wishes up here. And this I stamped with just the clear Versamark. And then what I did is I used white embossing powder and heat embossed over the top of that. So after I stamped the images of the snowflakes, before I stamped my Winter Wishes sentiment, one thing that I did is I heat set it, because that is also a